Inspiration Station, Manx Radio.
Women Today.
Hello, Pastor Mai. Welcome to today's edition of Conister Rocks, the show where we ask our guests to share with us some memories and music. And you can listen back to former programmes on the Manx Radio website. You just follow the link to the podcast section. And we've been joined on the Rock before by very well-known people here on the Isle of Man and further afield as well. And if you've got a suggestion from a guest, we would love to hear it. Just drop us an email at womentoday@manxradio.com. Now, today's guest, well, I think it's fair to say that local politics runs in her blood. Both her parents have held high-profile positions in Douglas Borough Council. She followed them into the Commissioners in 2012 and was appointed Mayor in 2017. And in the next week, will be hanging up her chains after a year in office. Outside of those formal duties, she has a challenging yet hugely rewarding job as part of the team at Rebecca House, the Isle of Man's Children's Hospice. So, Debbie Pitts, it is a pleasure to welcome you to Manx Radio's very own Conister Rock. I wonder, do you need some solitude after this past year, do you think?
I don't know that I'm going to enjoy the solitude, to be honest, Beth. I do enjoy people's company, and I have thoroughly enjoyed this year meeting and greeting lots of different people from all walks of life.
Well, we'll be talking more about that a little bit later throughout the show. But I just wonder, in the process of picking music, I know you say music is very important to you. How did you find whittling it down to just 5?
Oh, it was so difficult. I think my taste is very eclectic, and that goes from working in Woolworths and being on the record counter and being introduced to so much different music. That you'll see when we go through my choices how widespread they are, but I don't think that's a bad thing.
Well, we look forward to hearing them over the course of the next hour. But before we hear your first track, just tell us a little bit about your early family life. You were born to Stephen and Dot Pitts, the eldest of 4 children.
I was the eldest of 4, yes. My parents were young parents, and we lived in a small flat in Domain Road, and my first early memory, I suppose, was of going on a family holiday. We went to Pwllheli, Butlins, and with other members of my family. But as a young child, obviously, you know, my parents first born, and they put me into a lovely competition. I think it was a beauty contest, and I came second, which was fantastic. And I had a lovely picture of me taken in my party dress with my number 2 board. And then when we got home, much to my delight, we moved home. So we moved from our very small top floor flat in Domain Road to our now family home in Princes Street. And I don't know why, but I believe that I won that in that contest, much to my dad's dismay, because we've had conversations about it since. And he's like, why on earth would you think that you'd won that as second prize? And I said, I don't know, but it just didn't ring true that we'd been on this lovely holiday, and the only thing that I could think of was I must have won it in the competition. But I would like to know what the first prize got, if that was our house was second prize.
I love the idea that a lot of your childhood was spent thinking that. That's brilliant. Yeah. That maybe accounts for the fact that you say you are a glass half full kind of person.
I certainly am. Well, yeah, because for second prize we won a 5-bedroom townhouse in Douglas, you know, and how fantastic would that be?
So we've talked about the fact that you are the eldest of 4, and I wonder how your position within the family impacted on you, and I'm thinking mainly in terms of responsibility.
Okay, I would say that obviously my role then was, and I was a lot older, my youngest of the 4, there's 13 years between us, which was a big shock to me, obviously still being at school, being at high school, and having parents that were still having children was a bit embarrassing at the time, because all of my peers were the youngest in the family. And bearing in mind my family, you know, my mum and dad were 17 when they had me, so they were very young still. But I didn't take that into account when my brother was born, and I had to tell people, you know, well, I've had a baby brother, and the looks I got in school was unbelievable. Your parents have had another baby. Your parents have had another baby. They just couldn't believe it, and the embarrassment that went with that. The nice bit for me was that my whole family lifehood is being about sharing, caring, being with each other, spending time with each other. You know, we didn't have lots of money we would go out on walks because the cars weren't available then. You know, my nana didn't drive and she would take us out at the weekend, or we'd go on family trips. Always everybody piled into a car and we'd go to Peel, where my dad's family's from. And that was family life, you know, and that just continued really even when I had younger brothers and sisters.
You didn't like having to take responsibility for the electric blankets though, did you?
No, I did not. I think, obviously being the eldest, it was your turn, and I always think, whose turn was it? It was always seemed to be my turn to go and put the electric blankets on at night time. And I think most people in my generation will remember that, you know, you put your electric blanket on, then you turned it off in the evening when you actually got into bed. But it always seemed to be my turn, and I think probably being the eldest. And then obviously the meters at the time, you know, we had a meter downstairs for the electricity and one behind the door for the gas, or whichever way around it was. But, you know, you would have to go down and be like, go and put the coins in the meter, and you would go down. And now I think back on it and I think it was wonderful, but it wasn't at the time when it was your turn to do it. And it just always seemed to be mine, unfortunately.
I love the image you paint of your plotting on Christmas Eve.
Oh, yes. It was a big time for us. It was my mum's birthday on Christmas Eve, so my mum and dad always used to go out for the evening. Obviously everything would be ready, and a friend of ours and her daughter used to come, and Sue and Jolene would come as well. And so that evening would be the preparations as any kids, but we would have signs that we would make with our names on, because obviously Father Christmas couldn't bring the big presents upstairs. We'd all have a chair downstairs. And then you would have your pillowcase that went at the end of the bed, and those sort of memories, you know, of making lists and what time we were going to wake up for our snacks, and what time, you know, would we dare to go downstairs, because Sue used to sleep downstairs. Would we dare to go downstairs and get more snacks, you know, with the fear of maybe waking Sue up, and also, you know, that visitor might be disturbed, you know, the trepidation of waiting for him. But yeah, the whole evening was military precision, you know, of who was going to get up what time. And I think the majority of times by about 9 o'clock, 9:30, we were asleep.
It does sound, Debbie, like a pretty idyllic childhood in many ways. And you talk about playing outside, you know, those days where you could just play out in the streets freely.
I look now, and I still live in the area where I've grown up. I'm only 2 streets away from my dad. And I do look sometimes at the children, and I think how sad it is that they don't have the same as the opportunities that we had. You know, nothing was provided for you. Games were games that you made up. I mean, Rounders was a favourite of ours, and we played out the back of Princess Street. And lots of times now when I look down those lanes, you wouldn't be able to, because there's cars parked there and there's rubbish out, and, you know, but we used to make our own fun. I mean, the Rounders, I did have a bit of an accident one night with the Rounders. I just seemed to be one of them children, I think. I slipped because then you didn't have trainers, and I was in my little flat ballet pumps that I thought were the bee's knees. But I slid along the gravel and fell into the grid and just narrowly, very, very narrowly missed breaking my leg. But all I was worried about while I had one leg in the grid and one leg out was I was going to lose my shoe. But I didn't, and I was rescued and taken to hospital. But, you know, now that would be major for children, because, you know, the danger of being out in a back lane playing Rounders, and we just did it every night. Every night we'd all be out together, and that community, I don't know if they have that now, because obviously it's not as safe.
I'll tell you what else they don't have now is a slot machine in their front room.
Yes. Wow, what a time. We had a chance, well, we were going away on holiday, and it wasn't something that we did very often, and we were going to Malta the following day, and that night my dad was helping my godfather Stan move some equipment, and when he came home with a slot machine, which to the kids in the street was just amazing. You know, I'd bring everybody in, and we'd have a little slot place at the back where all the 10 pences were, and we put them all in, but if you won them we took them. And of course my dad was losing money rapidly, because it was only ever if the machine kept it that he kept it, but every time it was won it was all taken, and then we'd go back for replenishment. But we also had a Chinese that night, and that sort of thing, you know, now is taken for granted. I think that you go out and get a takeaway. Some people are doing it 2 and 3 times in a week, and this was a special occasion. And then we went on holiday the next day, and I just remember thinking, we must be rich. We must have made it now. You know, we're going on holiday, we've got a slot machine, and we're having a takeaway, all in the 1 week. It was just, it was amazing. And the kids in the street loved it.
Well, Debbie Pitts, tell us about the first piece of music you've chosen.
So my first track is something that my Auntie Irene will love to know that I've chosen. It reminds me of being young and going to the under-18s disco at the Cave. And her and her friend Glenda used to barrage my mum, I think, and sort of say, Debbie really wants to go, she really wants to go. And my mum would give them money, you know, to take me along. However, when we got there, I was put in the DJ booth with Paul Moulton and all the coats and left there. But Paul always asked me, Debbie, what would you like me to play? And this track is from my days of being in the under-18s disco. And I think when you look at the lyrics, it is very true now, very true.
I heard you on the wireless back in 52, lying awake intently tuning in on you. If I was young, it didn't stop you coming through. They took the credit for your second symphony, rewritten by machine on new technology. And now I understand the problems you could see. I met your children. What did you tell them?
Video killed the radio star. Video killed the radio star.
Pictures came and broke your heart. And now we meet in an abandoned studio. We hear the playback and it seems so long ago. And you remember the jingles used to go. You were the first one. You were the last one.
Video killed the radio star. Video killed the radio star.
In my mind and in my car, we can't rewind, we've gone too far.
Buggles, Video Killed the Radio Star, and memories there for our Conister Rock guest Debbie Pitts of being in the DJ booth at the under-18s Cave Disco. Did you really have to go and, you know, ask the people that your family members wanted to dance with if they would as well?
Yes, I did, yes. Let the cute little 3 or 4 year old go over and ask them, you know, but it did have its benefits because I just absolutely loved that song, and Paul was always very, very kind and played it for me.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Women Today.
And we're on the Conister Rock this afternoon with Mayor of Douglas, Debbie Pitts. I'm still loving the story about you going to Butlins and thinking that competition you won resulted in you winning a family house. But we've talked a little bit about your home life. What were you like at school?
I had a good group of friends, which I still keep in touch with some. But I think my school life, I wasn't very academic. I just sailed along really, but I did love it. And I went to Balaclone School, which I walk past now fondly and think, oh, it's not there anymore. And Fairfield, which I absolutely loved. One of my memories of Fairfield was, and I think it might have been Prince Charles's wedding, I went dressed as a pea in a pod, which was quite difficult to get to school once it had been done. And toilet issues were quite difficult. But I did win.
Oh.
But I didn't win a house.
No.
No, unfortunately. I just got a mug. But I did win. And I looked spectacular as a pea in a pod.
I bet you did. I love the fact you talk about toilet issues, and I'm thinking, I hope there wasn't any pee in the pod. But anyway,
No, well.
we'll move on from that. We're going to talk about your next two tracks in a moment, because they're both associated with jobs that you had. And you mentioned Woolworths, and what an iconic store, wasn't it? It really, it was pivotal for many people's childhoods, I guess.
It's surprising when you talk to people. I mean, yesterday we were at an ex-serviceman's evening, and lots of the ladies there all worked in Woolworths, when their husbands were out at war. And, and I just think, obviously on the island, it was quite a big company, to take on board people. But now when I think about my work ethic, a lot of it has come from Woolworths. They installed a lot of my thoughts and rationale about how to treat people and, be respectful to people when they're shopping, because ultimately that's where your money's coming in. Don't talk and don't chew, and make sure you take them to the place if they've asked for something, because people will walk out if they still can't find it. All those things Woolworths installed into me.
Well, tell us about the track that you've chosen. It's Everything But the Girl that you chose for Woolworths.
It is. Obviously, being on the record counter, I learnt lots and lots about lots of different music, and this song was one of us, the two ladies that worked on there had enlightened me to Everything But the Girl, and I'm a big fan and still am, and it was very difficult to narrow down a track for this, and my tastes then go from Morrissey to The Cure to the Smiths and Pet Shop Boys, Talk, so my range of music is vast, absolutely vast, and that all comes back from my job at Woolworths.
Nothing's happened yet that you might ever wish to forget. It doesn't stay that way. If I could, I'd make it stay that way. Unless you will recall it after years, though you may weary of this frailty. These days, remember, always remember. You're only two, and I've no wish to worry you. So pain of mind to those who say the world is unkind. That's just something they've read, and if I could, I'd strike them dead. Unless you will recall it after years, though you may weary of this frailty. These days, remember, always remember.
Everything But the Girl, These Early Days. Debbie Pitts singing along there. Those
Yes,
words
I
still
was.
imprinted. So you say you weren't particularly academic at school. So when did you decide what it was you wanted to do for your career?
I think probably from my family life, children had always taken a big part of my life, and I wanted to be a nanny. That was my ultimate aim. The thought of living with somebody and being able to help them with their children and all the bonuses, the things that come with it that when you're younger you don't actually understand. But having a car and having somewhere to live, being included in your job, I just was mesmerised by it all. And I got on to the childcare course at the Isle of Man College, as it was then. And my attitude changed slightly when I was introduced to different areas of childcare, and it just took flight from there, really. And I still love children, still working with them now, 26-ish years later, in a completely different aspect. But I think my brothers and sisters were the ones that made me fall into that, really.
And I mean, I said at the beginning that you describe it as a challenging but hugely rewarding career, because really you get to see both sides of life in some ways.
Yeah. You know, we as a group in Rebecca House work wonderfully together, and I have to say a huge thank you to the ladies that I work with, especially this year. They've allowed me to do a lot of things that I wouldn't have been able to do if I hadn't had such a supportive group. But we are in people's lives to make life for living, and I think maybe again my half glass full attitude is probably quite good in that respect. I worked at Nobles Hospital on the children's ward for 16 years, absolutely loved it. But when children did die, you know, life does go on, and it goes on very, very quickly, and you would have to adapt to that really, really quick. And I always felt that there was just something a little bit missing, that, you know, I would avoid people and think, oh, I can't talk to them, and I don't know, you know, and the Isle of Man is small, unfortunately, and you would meet people and it would be upsetting for them and upsetting. And then when I eventually moved to Rebecca House, you know, hospice is very good at giving you enough training and the backup, you know, the counselling for yourself as well, that, you know, when you're in that situation, and thankfully I never have, but I want to make it the best I can for these families. I want, you know, maybe a little word or a touch on their arm, or doing something for their child that has died, you know, might just make things a little bit easier in a really stressful time. And that's what I think Rebecca House is about. But it is about lots of laughter and fun, and we do get up to lots of mischief as well.
I think I'd love to know more about that, but I'm not sure you'd share much of it with us, Debbie Pitts. Tell us about your next piece of music, because I said your 2 tracks now were all associated with past jobs that you've had. And you have had quite a varied, I mean, I'll call it career, because I know a lot of these were during your school time, but tell us about this one.
So this was a stint that I did at the Isle of Man Creameries, and also another family background. One of my aunties was one of the managers there, and was in charge of producing cheese, and she now produces cheese in California. And my other auntie, who used to take me to the under-18s disco, worked there as well. My sister also did a stint in the summer holidays, so it was sort of a family tradition that you would go there, you know, for extra Saturday work. And that the summer in particular, I had there, it was very warm. I just remember having lots of fun. There was lots of antics that we got up to that perhaps I shouldn't share with you today, Beth. But, you know, I've made some really, really good friends there. And this track came from being out in the packing room with the ladies. And we used to have a tape recorder. And we put this tape on, and I thought, what on earth have they brought in? And I listened to this album, and lots of people will know the album, but they won't actually know who it is. And this track just brings me back to that summer.
Wonderful Life Black and memories for Debbie Pitts of working in Isle of Man creameries. Are you a cheese fan generally?
Yes, love cheese. Love it.
We're talking on the Conister Rock this afternoon. It is 26 minutes to 3.
The Nation Station, Match Radio.
Women Today.
And this afternoon we're on the Conister Rock with Douglas Mayor Debbie Pitts. And Debbie, we've been talking, and throughout everything you've been saying, it's so evident that family has always and is always hugely, hugely important to you. And that's something you realised even more when you were diagnosed with a serious illness at just 35. You were.
Yeah. And I think it shook my world because our family had just sailed along. You know, we were just an average family. And at the age of 35, to hear the words, "you have cancer," was shocking. I couldn't believe it. And literally within a few months of myself being diagnosed, so was my mum. And it takes a lot out of a family. It really, really does. And, you know, to be ill is expensive. I was very fortunate to have both my parents behind me and help me all the way through, and family and friends. But we'd never encountered it. And then from that time, from like 2008, it's just been a part of our family. But again, I still am that person that's a glass half full. You know, you're given these things. My nana always used to say that, you know, God doesn't give you anything that you can't cope with. And sometimes that might be really difficult to think about when you're in the depths of it. But I do believe that everything that I've been giving, or my family's been given, it's happened and we've dealt with it, because that's just, you have to get on with it. Life goes on.
And your mum was truly a force to be reckoned with, because despite going through, was it her third round of cancer treatment,
third, yeah.
She took on the role of
Mayor.
mayor, and she really gave it her all.
She did. When, you know, I've had days, Beth, where I've been tired and I've thought, oh, no, you know, I have made it really busy this year and I don't want anyone to feel sorry for me. But when I have felt tired and I've looked at my watch and thought, here we go again, I've thought about my mum and the treatment that she was going through and how tired she must have been. Remembrance Day always sticks in my head that she was actually in hospital, not well, and we went and broke her out so that she could come down and lay her wreath at the cenotaph. And it was very important for her to do that. And that's one of the things that made me so proud this year. One, I was wearing her hat because she was a great lover of hats, and I laid the wreath just as she did. Very, very proud moment, and I'm sure that, you know, she's been behind me, giving me a push in the right direction at times during the year when I have been tired and busy and thinking, can I do it? You know, I have felt that
And
push behind me.
This next piece of music, very fitting then, because this is for your mum.
Yeah.
Never been a sinner, I never sinned. I got a friend in Jesus. So you know that when I die, it's gonna set me up, the spirit in the sky. Oh, set me up, the spirit in the sky.
Spirit in the Sky, Debbie Pitts playing that for her mum, Dot. And Debbie, you also say that your sister is a huge inspiration to you as well.
She is. Nicola's always been very supportive, and she's the organised one in the family. Although my work colleagues will say that I'm organised, well, she beats me hands down. And then obviously helping my mum through her cancer journey and mine. Then at the age of 36, she was also diagnosed with cancer. Again, did she let it stop her? No, she didn't. We were in the middle of organising our third year of Relay for Life Isle of Man, which Nicola has taken to great heights, and she absolutely loves it. And, you know, even though she was going through treatment and had lost her hair, and just for me, everything that I thought about she was going through, and yet she stood up on that stage that day and gave a speech to all those people, and she's just really, really a motivational person anyway, but a big inspiration to me, a really big inspiration.
Well, Debbie Pitts, we are talking in your final week as mayor, and we know that local politics has been in your family since you were a child. Both your mum and dad have held high office in Douglas Council. What was it in 2012 that made you think, right, I'm going to do it?
I talked about it at the last general election, and we were listening to the results with David Cretney and his daughter and my dad and myself, and I said to Sarah, I really want to do it, and she said, yeah, I would like to as well. And then when 2012 came up, I thought, you know, I should have done that. And my dad rung me and he said, are you serious about doing this? And I said, yes. And he said, because I think there may be, you know, you want to go for it in your area. And within 2 days I had my nomination papers in, and I've never looked back really. It was difficult at the start because I think people automatically assume that I was going to always side with my dad. You know, our morals and our life, obviously he's brought me up, and, you know, the person that I am, you know, my mum and dad have made me. However, I am my own person, and I've got different life experiences to him. So we don't always agree on things. But yeah, elections and that has always been in my blood. So when that opportunity came, I had to grab it, and I'm so glad that I have.
You were very clear when you were voted in as mayor last year that you were going to be mayor and not mayoress.
Yes.
Why is that?
Because the role of mayor is mayor regardless of your gender, and the mayoress is the person that then supports you. If it was a gentleman, as my dad did for my mum, and he was the very first one to do it, he would be your consort. And I think people just automatically assume that you're the little lady and you will be the mayoress. And the mayoress, my mayoress, does giggle at times because she'll say, "Oh, don't call her mayoress." And it's not that. I just think, you know, I'm holding these chains of office. It's not about me. It's about this role. And I'm just hugely proud and, you know, love the fact that I've been given the opportunity, and I don't want people to get it wrong. Well, they don't get it wrong a second time.
They don't. You took part in an event for International Women's Day that was held at the Henry Bloom Noble Library, and I wonder why you felt moved to do that. And you did something quite remarkable, really. You prepared a speech for it, but after hearing some of the other contributors, you threw that in the bin.
Well, when I got there, I'd been at a function earlier on. When I got there, the girls were all getting themselves into order, and there was 6 of us. And it was really Jan McCartney from the library. She's very good to get all the councillors involved in things. And she'd asked would I do it. And of course, you know, why not? And especially in my year and thinking about ladies in politics as well. You know, in the council, we're very lucky. We've got 18 councillors and we're 9 women, 9 men. So it's a really even split. As I said on the night, it's not about women should have the right to be in there, but women have a different attitude. And if you're right for the job, it doesn't matter about your gender. It's whether you're right for the job. And sometimes women are. And why not? So when I did that speech, I had wrote it on what I thought I was going to say. And when the girls had all put themselves into order, I found myself at the end. So I was the sixth person. And as I was listening to them, I was thinking, oh no, my speech was good, but it wasn't the flavour of the evening. And so when I got up on my feet, I thought, I'm going to have to say something here because I can't read off my sheets. And I just said, I hope you don't mind, I'm going to ditch the wording that I've got and I'm just going to chat. And I did. And the 15 minutes just zoomed by. And the next thing, it was time for me to sit down. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, thoroughly enjoyed it.
Well, leaving your year as mayor with that ability to ad lib is certainly something which will move you on to other things, I guess. Have you not got any plans once you hand over your chains next week?
No, have you got a job going, Beth?
Well, I'm sure I could easily find you one.
No, we're having a rest.
I need to tell you that Stu has texted to say, hats off to Mayor Pitts. Every one of her choices of music has brought back so many great memories of growing up and getting my first job working weekends at a garden centre. So your music choices have gone down well. Just very briefly, charity work always been something that's incredibly important to you. And you handed over money yesterday as part
we
of...
did. It was the charity presentation yesterday, and obviously we'd chosen two charities, Rebecca House and Dot Stream Foundation. And the Mayoress and I had put a goal in mind, really, of what we would like to achieve. And we achieved that and more. So we have met lots of different people over the year, which has been fantastic. But some people out there that are struggling a little bit more. So what we did was we gave the bulk of our money to the two main charities, and the rest we've divided up into smaller groups and been able to help them out. And I'm very pleased and proud of the committee and everybody that's helped to say that we raised £23,706. It was just absolutely immense. I last night was very emotional when we were giving the cheques over. I think because I'm just so proud of what everybody else has come together and helped me with this year, because it isn't just about me, it's about everybody getting together, and that is being the flavour of our year is to be an inclusive year. You know, children coming in, businesses coming in, charities coming in, volunteers coming in. It's about spreading the word and being out there.
And you are heading very shortly in the next hour to one of your final official functions.
It is, and it's something that I've been championing for, along with my dad, on the Regeneration and Community Committee for our water splash park. And I have been looking out, and I think the sun might be trying to come out, you never know. Yes, I can't wait for that. I went up and got on the truck and dug out the first footings, and it'll be amazing to see it actually come to fruition. It'll be fantastic.
I'm guessing this text will mean something to you. Lovely to hear Her Majesty on the wireless. Great tunes from your fave auctioneer. Does that make sense?
Boosh Karouche.
Hey, there you go.
Thanks, Boosh.
Debbie Pitts, it has been a real pleasure to be joined with you on the Conister Rock this afternoon. This programme will be available shortly to download as a podcast from the Manx Radio website. So all you need to do is go to manxradio.com, click the on air button and then podcasts. And in our archive, there are music and memories shared by a host of familiar names, including sports stars, former chief ministers and musicians. And as I say, if there is somebody you would like to hear, please do send your suggestions to womentoday@manxradio.com. But you're looking forward to a rest, as you say, when you hand over your chains next week, Debbie Pitts. We are going to play out with your fifth and final track. What is it and why have you chosen it?
It is Proud by Heather Small, and I know that she was singing it on stage here in the island last week. It just makes me think of my life, my family, being the mayor, Relay for Life, being a survivor. That's the words to me. Resilient as always, and you should always think whatever you do, whether it be big or small, it should be a proud moment.
Debbie Pitts, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.
I look into the window of my mind, reflections of the fears I know I've left behind. I stare step out of the ordinary. I can feel my soul ascending. I'm on my way, can't stop me now. And you can do the same, yeah. What have you done today to make you feel proud? It's never too late to try. What have you done today to make you feel proud? You could be so many people if you make that breath for freedom. What have you done today to make you feel proud? Still so many answers I don't know. There are so many answers. Realize that to question is how we grow. To question is to grow. So I step out of the ordinary. I can feel my soul ascending. I'm on my way, can't stop me now. You can do the same, yeah. What have you done today to make you feel proud? It's never too late to try. What have you done today to make you feel proud? You could be so many people if you make that breath for freedom. What have you done today to make you feel proud? Yeah, we need a change. Yeah, do it today. Yeah, I can feel my spirit rising. Change. Yeah, we need a change. Yeah, so do it today. Yeah, 'cause I can see you clearer rising. What have you done today to make you feel proud? Yeah, let me hear you, let me hear you, let me hear you. So what have you done today to make you feel proud? Yeah, 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 yeah. 'Cause you could be so many people. Just make that breath for freedom. So what have you done today to make you feel proud?
Women Today